Want to learn more about your true nature? Check out the many interviews and short videos produced by our friends at ispirit.us. Like their page at facebook.com/ispirit.dotus and browse through their many posts and be inspired by the wonderful and positive messages about life that they share with their community. If you would like to study the works of Spiritism and delve deeper into this philosophy that will be guaranteed to enrich your life by teaching you about the greater life, check out ediseiofamerica.com. At ediseiofamerica.com you can find all of the seminal works of Spiritism written and compiled by Allan Kardec, translated from its original French to English, as well as other Spiritist works that serve to add to the immaterial treasure that is the Spiritist philosophy and doctrine. As one of our subscribers and followers, be sure to use promo code ispirit_love to get 10% off from your next purchase and continue to support this beautiful work of dissemination. ispirit_love to get 10% off from your next purchase. Thank you.
Item 25 says, the communications between the visible and invisible worlds may be secretive or open, spontaneous or induced. Spirits act upon humans secretively through the thoughts they suggest to them and through certain influences. They act openly through effects discernible to the senses. And we know this because many of us have certain inspirations. How many times do we go to bed pondering about a specific subject and we wake up the next day with the answer that we were looking for? That's because during sleep, when the body is resting, the spirit is still active, and it's sort of semi-bond and is able to penetrate temporarily and not entirely the astral plane of existence or the spiritual plane of existence. And thus at that moment it is able to interact with those whom are around it, those who are immediately connected to it, be it family members, be it guardian spirits, be it even other types of spirits concerning other types of attachments or bonds. Regardless, sometimes we're seeking answers, and when we sleep we find them because we speak to someone who wants what's best for us, who wants what's good for us, and they come to guide us and help us. And that's why sometimes we wake up feeling happy and energetic and saying, yes, I found out the answer. I found the answer to that question. I figured out what I'm going to do, and now I can move forward with that project or something similar. Many of those scenarios happen to us daily. We don't have to be asleep. Many times we're walking around doing things, not thinking about that particular problem we've been pondering or contemplating, and suddenly, in the snap of a finger, an idea comes to us. And sometimes that idea may have a different origin, and it was not an idea that was within us. It literally came to us. And again, they act through certain influence. They suggest thoughts to us through certain influences. They act openly through effects discernible to the senses. We find this in the Spirit's book in questions 459 through 471. To briefly touch on one of them, in question 459 of the Spirit's book, we find the following. It is in a section entitled, "The Concealed Influence of Spirits on Our Thoughts and Actions." 459 asks, do spirits have any influence on our thoughts and actions? And the answer is their influence on you, in this regard, is greater than you suppose. For very frequently, it is they who guide you. So there we have it. We think a lot of times that we're the ones making decisions, that we're the ones in control, but we aren't. That's why it's important to watch and pray, to be careful, to focus on good things, to think good things, to do good deeds, to read good things, to watch positive things, so we can connect through thought in the right frequency and vibrations to attract the right responses to the answers of our lives and to find the right guidance. Spontaneous manifestations occur unexpectedly and fortuitously. Quite often, they occur to persons unfamiliar with Spiritist ideas, and who, for that very reason, cannot understand them. Consequently, they attribute them to supernatural causes. Manifestations that are induced occur by means of certain individuals endowed with special faculties for producing such effects, who are designated by the name of mediums. And we've defined before in previous videos what mediums are. Mediums are basically the intermediary, or the equipment, so to speak, that is able to transmit the signal from the spirit world to the physical world. So from the spirit who's manifesting itself, it channels that information, or it goes through that funnel, that intermediary, which is the medium, and the medium himself or herself then channels that communication on the other end and presents it, much like a television set. The network transmits its signal from the originating tower. That signal travels through the air, and then it reaches the antenna of the TV set, of the television set. The television set captures it, formats it, and translates that signal into the image that we see on the screen. And that is basically how the medium acts. In the same way, it is a very rudimentary or crude analogy, but it works. Item 26 says, spirits can manifest in many different ways, by means of sight, hearing, touch, noises, movements of objects, writing, drawing, music, etc. So sometimes that noise that we hear, all of a sudden, the bang, the knock, the object that falls when nobody was around it, that might be a manifestation and we're not even aware of it. So it's a possibility, because they are around us at all times. So it's a possibility that one of us is a medium and we're not aware of it, and we're able to produce the necessary effects that allows that spirit to manipulate the object in our plane of existence and cause it to fall off, or fly over, or fly across a room, or a door to shut, or a blind to shut, or anything really, lights to flicker. All of these are possibilities. And we have to remember that everything has a cause. And if something starts to act in a pattern signifies an intelligence. And if there's an effect that is an intelligent effect, obviously there has to be an intelligent cause to it. Therefore, it can't be random. It can't just be produced by nothing or a force of nature, which indeed it is, because the spirit is a force of nature, but in this sense of just a random arbitrary force. No, it is a defined force, which is what Spiritism teaches us. They can also manifest themselves through hearing. Many of us sometimes hear voices, things, and we don't understand. But those voices might be the inspiration that we have, those intuitions to do the right things, to answer some questions that we may have, some doubts about something. Noises we've already covered, movements of objects, writing, drawing, music. Why? Because artists can be mediums. They're channeling very positive, productive energies when they create arts, when they create artworks, because those projects are done via their talent. And sometimes they're able to penetrate into such a high frequency because they're just channeling out and producing this wonderful thing, that those spirits who are also in tune with that type of work are present, and they help that painter, that writer, that musician to develop or compose something beautiful through intuition, through inspiration, by the means of the voice, but not a voice as we hear now, not the voice that we have that vibrates through the air canals, not that voice, but an ethereal voice, so to speak, that is telepathically transported, let's say, that goes right into our minds, and we're able to hear it, and it sounds like somebody speaking to us, but it's not. So these artists are allowing themselves to make these things manifest via their work. It's a possibility. So that's why most artists are very sensitive. They're sensitive individuals with a lot of emotions. A lot of them have a big heart because they're open to this. They're an open channel, and that's why they're able to produce so many wonderful things, because they're in tune with these entities, perhaps other artists as well, who have discredited and left this life, who hover and hang around those who have similar interests, much like anything else in the world. And so those spirits intuit those artists to create the works that they create. It's a really beautiful thing, and it's a wonderful thing. And when you think about it, when you reason it, it makes sense. At least to me, it makes perfect sense. So skipping all the way to item 32, it reads, "There is nothing supernatural or extraordinary about spirit manifestations. They are phenomena induced according to the law that governs the exchange between the visible and invisible worlds. A law as natural as the law of electricity. gravity, etc. Spiritism is the science that enables us to know about this law, just as mechanics enables us to know about the law of motion, and optics the law of light. Being part of nature, spirit manifestations have been produced in all ages. Once understood, the law governing them explains a series of problems that used to be considered insolvable. It is the key to a multitude of phenomena exploited and amplified by superstition. So now that we are in the age of intelligence, that we are in the age of maturity, spiritual maturity, we are able to discern these things and understand them as natural things, parts of the laws of nature, instead of some superstition or some paranormality, if I can put it this way. Because it is not paranormal, it's not beyond normal, it's perfectly normal. It is part of life. If it wasn't, it wouldn't occur. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have so many television shows, so many movies depicting this as a fiction. Where does this idea come from? Why is it such a topic of curiosity? Why does it pique the interest of so many? Because people have an inherent sense within them that this is actually a real thing, and they're curious to see it. But the problem is that it manifests itself in a corrupted version when we watch it in television. Instead of allowing us to learn in the right way, television unfortunately distorts the truth a little bit to sensationalize it, so it can bring more the audience to it and bring more revenue and etc. or revenue, etc. But that's not the point here. The point here is to learn about a science, to learn about this nature, this natural course of things, natural process that is the communication of spirits, and understand there's nothing paranormal about it, nothing abnormal about it. We do it daily. How? When you go to work, all those coworkers are incarnated spirits. You're communicating with them. That's happening daily. At home, you're communicating with incarnate spirits. So you're manifesting things spiritually. Why? Because you're incarnated into a physical body, and your physical body is manifesting things. It's producing things, touching things, making things. The spirit is manifesting that action onto the physical body, and the physical body is responding accordingly as a machine would to a programmer who puts the software into it. So it's a similar thing. So it's completely natural. Item 33 reads, once removed from the arena of the extraordinary, these phenomena are in no way repugnant to reason, because they may be placed alongside all other natural phenomena. In the ages of ignorance, all effects whose causes were not understood were regarded as supernatural. Of course, so we go back to antiquity, to when humans were still barbaric, when the natural occurrences of the world, the catastrophes, the lightning, the sun, the moon, the earthquakes, those were all attributed to some specific divinity because they didn't understand the causes behind it. Now as science progressed, we know that there are natural cycles that occur and lead to these type of phenomena. Just as an example, a string of scientific discoveries narrowed the circle of the extraordinary, and it will continue to do so because science progresses. The knowledge of this new law has reduced it to nothing. The new law being Spiritism. Therefore, those who accuse Spiritism of having resuscitated the extraordinary demonstrate that they are talking about something they know nothing about. So, before talking about or commenting on a subject or on a specific science, we must first read about it and learn a little bit about it. Because we cannot go into something blindly and want to comment on it as if we know what we're talking about. That's just a bottom line. If we know nothing about something, it's best to just keep quiet, read about it, learn about it, hear from others who are experts in the field, and then discern what you think is best for you, what applies to you, and from there build your own thesis, your own perception and conception of the idea. But first, study the basics, and then touch on the subject and talk about it. Item 34 says, spirit manifestations are of two types, physical effects and intelligent effects. We've sort of touched on this. The former are material and ostensive, such as movements, noises, the carrying of objects, etc. The latter consists in a normal permutation of thought with the help of signs, words, and especially writing. Item 35 reads, communications received from spirits may be good or bad, correct or erroneous, profound or superficial, depending on the nature of the spirits that manifest. Those that display wisdom and knowledge are spirits that have evolved. Those that display ignorance and evil qualities are little evolved spirits, but who will evolve with time. This is fine, and it makes perfect sense because it is aligned with humanity. If we were to pick a random amount of people from a group out of the street or off the street, put those, let's say, 40 people into a room, hand them a notebook, have them write something elucidating or something that they know about, each one is going to write something different because each one of them has a different level of knowledge and understanding, a different intellect. Some of them may write very silly things. Some of them may not take things seriously and write jokes. Some of them may write theories. Some of them may write equations. It is all dependent on the level of evolution of the spirit, on the level of intellect, of improvement, of how far they've come in this incessant evolution of the immortal life of the spirit. So this is perfectly aligned with that. Spirits can only respond to things they know about, much like people, because we are spirits, according to their advancement, and furthermore, to things they are allowed to talk about, because there are things they must not reveal, since it has not yet been given to humans to know about everything. Of course not. How many things are we prepared to learn about? A lot of things. And that's why we are not, or how many things are we not prepared to learn about? A lot of things. And that's why much of what is out there is still remaining a secret to us. But eventually with time, light will be shed upon it, much like everything else. If we go back in the past, how many things that we know today we had no idea about then? So this is just a natural progression. As we expand our field of ideas, our knowledge, our horizon, we'll be able to glimpse bigger things, more beautiful things, and learn many things that are yet to be discovered. So this is just a natural progression. Item 36 says, due to the diversity in the qualities and aptitudes of spirits, it is not enough simply to address any spirit available in order to receive a correct response to every question, because on many subjects it can give only its personal opinion, which may be right or wrong. Of course, much like people. I can't just pick a random Joe off the street and ask him about some specific science and ask him about what he thinks about theory X and the resulting Y. They're not going to know how to comment on it unless they've studied that. It is the same thing. It applies to the spirits as well. So we see here that it is just the personalities, the individualities, and nothing changes. The only thing that changes is the realm of existence, the dimension in which we find ourselves. In which speed is the spirit manifesting itself? Is it concrete in the physical body, or is it dispersed and free in the liberated spirit after it discarnates in the paraspiritual fluid, which is the ethereal body that allows us to interact with the physical body? So we have to consider this. Skipping over to item 37. The quality of spirits may be determined by their language. The language of truly good, high-order spirits is always dignified, noble, logical, and lacking in contradictions. It displays wisdom, benevolence, modesty, and the purest morality. It is concise and does not employ needless words. Regarding ignorant or proud, low-order spirits, the emptiness of their thoughts is almost always made up for by a superabundance of words. Every obviously erroneous thought, every maxim contrary to sound morality, every piece of foolish advice, every gross, trivial, or just plain silly expression, and lastly, every trace of malevolence, presumptuousness, or arrogance are incontestable signs of the spirit's unevolved character. Just like human beings. There is no difference because that's what they are, but discarnate away from the flesh. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you all next time as I continue this wonderful study about the Spiritist doctrine. And as always, I encourage you all to go to ediseiofamerica.com, use the discount code to get your 10% off your purchase, and learn more about Spiritism. Purchase your copy of What is Spiritism, purchase your copy of the Spirit's book, and so on, and delve deep into this wonderful study because it fills us with that wonderful living water of the truth, the water that quenches the thirst that we have for the spirit that we are, the thirst for the truth, for what is out there, for what awaits us, and why we are here. Where are we going? What is the purpose of our life? We can find all of these answers and much more in the Spiritist doctrine. It is a wonderful philosophy and science. And I don't say this as someone who's trying to peddle anything, because I don't make anything from this. I say this as someone who has been truly converted, so to speak, to this philosophy, because to me it makes perfect sense. And as an individual, just like everyone else who is temporarily here on this earth, this has allowed me to find guidance. It is the compass that I needed to awaken my conscience to the right path that I need to walk. So it is a plea I make from the bottom of my heart as always. Give it a chance. Give yourself the opportunity to learn more about this. You're not going to regret it. I guarantee it. But alas, have a blessed one, and I hope to see you all next time. Thank you so much.